Around $1.05. That's where XRP is sitting right now. And for a lot of holders, that number feels uncomfortable because the $1 floor, which always felt like the one level that would hold, is being tested harder than it has been in a long time. But before you make any decisions based on that number, let's slow down. Because beneath this price action, there is a very specific story developing, and most people reacting to the chart right now are completely missing it. Welcome to XRP Verified. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. We do this every day. Today's update is one you need to hear in full. Let's get into it. So here's the honest picture on the chart right now. XRP is trading at approximately $1.05. It touched an intraday low of around $1.04 recently, which means the $1 psychological support is not just a talking point anymore. It is being actively tested. Price is sitting below the 7-day, 25-day, and 99-day moving averages. Every short-term technical signal is bearish. The Fear and Greed Index is at 13. That is extreme fear territory. Down 8% over the last 7 days. Down over 52% from its 52-week high. That is the reality. And this channel is not going to pretend otherwise. Bitcoin touched a cycle low near $59,000 before recovering slightly. The broader crypto market is under sustained pressure. ETF outflows across Bitcoin and Ethereum have been heavy. $397 million in liquidations cascaded through the market in one session alone. So yes, it is painful out there. But here's where I want to shift your attention, because the price and the fundamentals are telling two completely different stories right now. Here's what the XRP Ledger is actually doing while the price bleeds. Ayoko Kinali, head of engineering at RippleX, recently highlighted that average daily transactions on the XRP Ledger jumped from 1.48 million to 2.48 million, a 35% increase quarter over quarter. That is not a rumor. That is a measurable network metric showing real, growing usage. The XRP Ledger is now ranked number 4 globally in real-world asset issuance. Payments used to dominate the headlines, and payments are still there, but the use cases have expanded dramatically. Stablecoins, tokenization, cross-border settlement, DeFi protocols. Institutions are actively building on this ledger. And here's the piece that should matter most to you as a long-term holder. Ripple has now enabled KYC and AML compliance features natively on the XRP Ledger. That means a financial institution can verify exactly who they're trading with, on-chain, in real time. If you're a bank, that is not a nice to have, that is a requirement. You cannot touch a trading venue where you cannot identify your counterparty. Sanctions exposure alone could destroy a financial institution. That compliance layer now exists on the XRP Ledger. And a lending protocol is coming that will enable fixed-term, fixed-rate structured loans settled on-chain, with the ledger as the system of record. The global debt market is roughly $340 trillion. You don't need much of that to move on-chain before the numbers for XRP's utility become very serious. The price is not reflecting any of this yet. That gap between fundamentals and price is either the biggest risk or the biggest opportunity in this asset, depending on your time horizon. Now let's talk about what the chart analysts are saying. And I want to be straight with you here, because price targets in crypto can go sideways fast. Dark Defender is calling XRP to $8.76 after completing a Wave 4 correction. Chartner has long-term targets of $13, $8, and $27 based on Fibonacci extension levels. Multiple analysts are pointing to the fact that XRP has historically bottomed between June and August. That happened in June 2014 and again in June 2022, both of which preceded significant rallies. There's also a technical indicator worth knowing about. A risk-adjusted trend regime indicator recently flashed a sharp negative Z-score reading in early 2026, the same kind of extreme reading that preceded the November 2024 breakout and the July 2025 rally. Price recovered sharply within weeks both times after hitting those levels. Will it play out the same way? Nobody knows for certain, but the pattern is there and it's worth watching. And here's the level that matters most right now, the $1 psychological floor. If $1.04 fails on a closing basis, that's the next major test. The bulls have shown up every time XRP has approached that level, but it is not guaranteed to hold forever. a serious breakdown in Bitcoin toward the $40,000 to $50,000 range, which some analysts consider possible if key support fails, would likely drag XRP below $1. That is a real risk, and you should have eyes open on it. Now, the honest take, because this is XRP verified, and verified means we give you both sides. The bear case is real. The Clarity Act's Senate passage odds have dropped significantly on prediction markets, from 74% down to 48% recently. Law enforcement pushback against parts of the bill is creating friction. The macro environment is deteriorating. The Fed remains hawkish. Bitcoin is fragile, and XRP has underperformed the broader market over the last 7 days. Here's what the bulls have going for them. XRP spot ETFs recorded their highest inflow week in 6 weeks just recently, $5.31 million in a single day, extending a 7-week streak of institutional accumulation. Cumulative XRP ETF inflows have now crossed $1 billion since launch in November 2025. Institutions are buying while retail is panicking. That is not nothing. And on July 13th, the Senate returns from recess. There is a 3-week window, roughly July 13th to early August, where the Clarity Act could move. If it gets signed into law, even in that window, the institutional demand that follows would be significant. ETF inflows would likely accelerate. Capital that's been sitting on the sidelines, waiting for regulatory clarity, would have a reason to move. That's not a guarantee, but it is the specific catalyst that the next 30 to 45 days hinge on. So, what does all of this mean for you if you're holding XRP right now? The 1.04 to 1.00 zone is the level to watch. That's where the real test is happening. Watch Bitcoin's behavior around $59,000. If that breaks down, XRP will feel it directly. The Clarity Act window opens July 13th. That is the single most important date on the calendar for XRP holders right now. The fundamentals: on-chain growth, institutional ETF accumulation, the compliance infrastructure being built on the ledger, have not broken down. The price has. That divergence resolves one of two ways. Either the price catches up to the fundamentals, or the fundamentals eventually disappoint. Right now, the data still supports the first scenario, but nobody is going to pay you for being right early. Patience here is not optional. It's the only tool available. Let's bring it home. XRP is around $1.05 today, testing critical support near $1.04, with the $1 floor directly below. The XRP Ledger is seeing 35% growth in daily transactions quarter over quarter and is ranked number 4 in real-world asset issuance. Institutional ETF inflows just hit a 6-week high, with over $1 billion accumulated since launch. The Clarity Act window opens July 13th, the most important near-term catalyst for this asset. And the bear case is real. Bitcoin weakness and a Clarity Act delay could push XRP below $1. Hold your thesis, watch the levels, and pay attention to what happens on July 13th. If today's breakdown was useful, hit the like button. It helps more XRP holders find honest analysis instead of hype. Subscribe if you haven't, turn on the bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay informed, stay patient, and as always, stay verified.